Good, good morning, Catalyst. How you guys doing? Would you guys come on and have a seat? We're going to get started. Thank you. That light is bright. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wanda Jones, and welcome to February Catalyst, a monthly gathering of Stanislaus sector leaders and influencers. I am the president and CEO of Daniel House. Yes, yay. Housing for, we provide housing for the community, and our participants thrive in their personal goals in a safe and nurturing environment for men. So thank you for supporting us. But the purpose of Catalyst is a place for community conversations and connections that matter and inspire. This is a safe place to explore issues that face our community. We're diverse people from different perspectives that choose to work together for the benefit of the community. Our hope is that you will connect with others who share your vision and passions. You will begin to build trust. You will work together to impact the community for everyone's benefit. And by the way, feel free to go check in on your Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and follow and like us on Facebook. Thank you. And also, there's a sign-in sheet on the table. We'd like to keep in touch with you, so feel free to put your name and email. All right, so we are hosting or sponsoring Rolling F Credit Union as one of our sponsors. Rolling F Credit Union, we want to thank them for sponsoring Catalyst. They are a credit union with the mission to bring fairness and equality to the banking system. They want to give their neighbors the tools necessary to end financial inequity. All right, so we do have a table talk, I guess, that'll come up. And so feel free to have this conversation at your table to get to know your neighbors. Who was your best friend in grade school? We'll spend a few minutes, right?
All right. Well, I hope that was a pleasant jaunt down memory lane, just thinking about old friends, friends from when you were young. Yeah, I wasn't implying anyone's old here. That's not what I was saying. But I want to invite, I have 4 friends that are going to join me on the platform here. So I'm going to invite them to come on up. And so go ahead and come on up. So there are stairs here. There's one over there. And there's one here. So thank you. Yeah, welcome my friends. Welcome my friends. So we meet on a regular basis. So we meet pretty much monthly for lunch, and the only reason they come is because of the food. No, they have developed some good friendships, and so I want to thank you for being here. Before we jump into our panel discussion, I would like to kind of give some historical context to how this group began. And so we're going to watch a video. Marvin put together a few thoughts here, and then we'll jump into our discussion.
Hi, I'm Marvin Jacobo. You know, just like me, you experience the hurt between people and communities, and it takes hard work to heal community pain. It takes hard work. And it takes people willing to swallow their pride, to be patient long enough to hear each other, to stay at the table of reconciliation long enough for the differences to be overcome. It's still an issue, but over the years I'd hear about African American pastors and Anglo pastors and Latino pastors who had stories about each other that some were ambivalent, and some were angry, and some were hurt, and some were neglected, and some didn't care. All those stories that sometimes are real and sometimes are made up. I decided to invite 15 pastors to come to a room and begin to have a conversation about this issue. Some African American pastors, Latino pastors, Anglo pastors, pastors who at least at that point I seem to think that knew how to talk, to discuss, to hear others, to want to be understanding rather than understood. And boy, the first couple of meetings were rough because tensions were high. There was some arguing, there was some name calling, there were some senses that some didn't understand but wanted to understand and didn't understand. You know, just your typical humanness of anybody coming together. And the early meetings definitely were hard. But as time went on, there began to be a sense of, we got to figure this out together. One of the brothers basically broke the ice by saying, listen, we're so much more than this one difference. We're so much more. Let's focus and pay attention to what we have in common rather than this one issue that we have a different view of. Let's be friends. Let's be brothers. And that was the beginning of a love relationship between these men of all kinds of different backgrounds. And so over the years, and we're proud of them, you'll hear their story here. But over the years, they've come to be brothers. Their spouses, partners have become brothers, have become sisters, and become friends. And so as you hear about Catalyst today, this is just one example of what's happening in our community, of looking past some differences to building deeper change for the long haul in our community. Enjoy their story. Hi, I'm Marvin Jacobo. You know, just like...
Sometimes Marvin just keeps going. Thank you, Marvin. So what we want to do is let's introduce ourselves. And there is sometimes there's an assumption that everyone knows us. But I'll just begin by I'm Mike Gunnarsson. I actually work for City Ministry Network, and I get the joy of actually kind of I don't make the group happen, but I kind of keep the schedule and send out reminders and stuff like that. And I just get the joy of being part of this incredible group. So that's me.
My name is Rod Cochran. I'm senior pastor of Christian Love Modesto. I think that's all I am.
So I'm also going to ask, I know that, so these men are pastors. They all pastor a local church here in the area. However, they are also involved in other areas of the community. So if you want to you can share your church, but also if you play another role or other areas that you're passionate about.
All right. I'm a part of a boys mentoring group called Uplift. I'm also a part of an outreach program from my nonprofit, the Awake Foundation, that mentors minoritized youth. We meet at the old Redeemer building there with Legacy Alliance.
I'm Mark Krieger, and I'm the lead pastor at Modesto Covenant Church. And I've been there since 2001, so been here a little while. Unlike Rod, I don't have lots of community involvements. My church takes most of my efforts and my time, but I've raised my family here in Modesto. My wife is from Ripon, so we have some roots here in the community through my wife. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Carl Bryant. I pastor True Light Community Church. Grew up here in Modesto. Also involved in coaching kids in track and field. Central Valley Roadrunners. We've been around for 23 years. I've worked in various capacities. Worked for the state of California. Did some time in Modesto City Schools as a mentor and as a, paraprofessional. Loved it.
Good morning. My name is Cesar Buitrago, and I serve as a pastor of Patterson Christian Fellowship in the city of Patterson. And I am involved in the community through a pantry that we started about 6 years ago, even before COVID started. And we serve about 200 families every week. And it's been a great experience to see the Lord bringing volunteers. We have about 25, 30 volunteers that come from, they are from the community as well. And they have been helping and putting all the boxes together. And it's really a great experience. We serve, as I said, about 200 families a week. And it's really exciting to see this whole, there's a festive environment every time that we meet and we work together for the community.
It really is impressive to see that outreach every week. So not all of us have been a part since the beginning. So some of you actually remember the beginning that Marvin was kind of giving some historical context. Give us an idea of how long you've been a part of the group, the Brothers group.
I think I've been participating upwards to about 2.5 to 3 years now. I think so.
And I was at the very first meeting that Marvin pulled together, and I think it was at the city ministry office. It was some building, yeah. And yeah, a lot of those faces changed over the years. Some of those guys didn't continue, but yeah, I was blessed to be at the first meeting.
I think I came in about 6 months after you guys got started at that building down there. Yeah, about 6 months, so yeah.
Like Mark, I was there since the beginning, and I remember some of the arguments going on around the table. Yes. And I said, oh, this is going to be interesting. But we hang in there together, and it's been a great blessing just to be part of this group.
Let me ask, so what initially made you interested in being a part of this group? So just however you want to answer.
I was drug in by Marvin. I've known Marvin for 50 plus years, good, bad, and indifferent. So when I came into the group, they had been started for a little bit, but the tension was there. So I remember Mark and Cesar. Yeah, so I just kind of sat and listened. I thought, this is going to be interesting. So.
Well, and one of the things that I've said to Mike and Marvin, I got involved maybe because Marvin asked me, but I continued involvement because it was multi-ethnic. Some of the things that were brought up, I was just totally unaware of, and I thought, here's an opportunity for me to hear and listen and learn. So I just value that. There's a lot of different, as a pastor, people want to pull you in to do different things, and I just say no to a lot of them. But I thought, here's an opportunity. I really wanted to be a part of this. Yeah.
I believe mine is like three-pronged. Carl brought me in from our relationship when I first arrived here from Alabama. I moved here about 25 years ago, but just to Modesto 5 years ago to start the pastorate. And Carl was the first introduction to the city, and he wanted to introduce me to a group of brothers who were meeting regularly. And then I'm also curious. Being raised in the South, civil rights was a huge component of life. But my mother, and I mention her wherever I go, Miss Elvira, although she was a part of the civil rights movement, she did not embrace an attitude of hate, but love. And she raised us to be curious, to ask questions. And I was curious about other connections, other perspectives here in Modesto, not just an homogenous experience with the African-American pastors.
I moved to Modesto from the Bay Area, like many people, and I was always interested in any effort that will promote the unity of the church in general. And so this group offered me that opportunity, and I felt welcome since the beginning. And I also meet with Latino pastors, and so this group expanded my circle, just to be more balanced.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. So this is kind of maybe an extension of that question, but why do you feel like it's important to actually have relationships where people see a different perspective than you do? Is there value in that? Why would you want to rub shoulders or build a relationship with somebody who thinks differently, maybe even believes differently than you do?
I'll jump on this. I think growing up here, knowing the numbers, how the ethnic community broke down, realizing that where we lived in southwest Modesto, everybody in our neighborhood was poor. So that was the one thing we had in common. So we didn't have social media influencing us, telling us who we should be friends with, who we shouldn't be friends with. My parents, grandparents fled the South because of racism, but my mom never raised us with that mindset. She said, you treat people the way you want to be treated, and that there's good and bad in all people. And so when the civil rights movement came along, that was like foreign to me because the area we grew up in. So being in this group, I remember one of my first experiences, we went to a prayer summit, and I rode with Mark. And I sat in the back and just listened. And I thought, here's a group of guys I think I can be in relationship with. And here we are. I don't know how many years ago that was, but yeah. Weren't you in the car too? Yeah. Yeah, man. We were all in the car together.
That was it. It was the car ride.
I guess I was in the trunk then. I missed the car ride, but I think what drew me to the group, I'm always curious about ways to create what Scripture has said here on earth. And Revelation speaks to all nations around the throne from all people groups. And why would I wait to get there to experience that when I can try to recreate that here? So I want heaven on earth. So I wanted to see if there was validity in Scripture, if the gospel truly connects us, and I have found that to be true.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I just believe God's kingdom is all people, all ethnicities, and I'm blessed by that. You know, I think so many times I'll come away from a brother's lunch that we do, and I feel like I've just been I've been spoken to. You know, I've received. I haven't needed to be the leading the group and charting a vision, whatever. I can just come and listen and learn, and I always walk away with something that just God has done in that mix of opinions and conversation and understandings that I wouldn't have had any other way. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I just want to say that it's been a great support for me personally, this group. I went through very difficult times for 2 years, and they, there were some rough waters that I was going through, and I've always felt that I need others to support me, and I can support others in the church. Because leadership is a lonely place to be. Leadership is always, and so having brothers who are peer and that we have no agenda but just to be friends is just a great blessing that we get to enjoy.
This wasn't necessarily on the list of questions, but somebody just kind of give. So, what does a meeting look like? Just in a short synopsis.
It's a hockey match in a box. The brawl session. No, not at all. I believe it to be a sharing of perspective, a hearing to a point of view or a derived experience, and what you believe about that. And then not comparing, but giving space for others to share their perspective also. I found that the most refreshing part of that.
Excellent. Okay. So, back on track, Leah. So, I asked you to put a little bit of thought into this, but in your opinion, and this is just from your perspective, but what are two essential characteristics for a group to be considered relational safe space for you? So we've all been a part of relationships or meetings that were not, you wouldn't say, ooh, this is a safe place. I feel accepted. But so for you, what's an essential value or characteristic that makes it a safe space? Because I really do feel like over the years, it's come to be that where we can share kind of where we're at and our struggles, even sharing our disagreements. And you may look up here and say, well, these are all pastors. They believe the same thing. And it's been interesting, some of the political perspectives, conversations that we've had, and even some of the theological conversations that they don't all land on the exact same point and perspective. So again, maybe a couple characteristics that you would say, this is what makes a safe relational space for me.
I want to start that because I think one aspect that I was unexpected but so refreshing is that it allowed spouses space also. Oftentimes I'm a part of groups that separate me from my family, and time is my commodity. I don't have a lot of it. If I'm not to the task of pastoring, my time is precious. And I got a best friend and I married her. So to know that our wives were able to connect, it became a really safe space for me. My wife didn't have to see it as something dividing or driving her time with me away. It's just shared experience. And I've watched her move in and out with me as ministry, move me all across the globe. And she's had isolated moments where I've had fellowship with people and she didn't connect. But here, she found comfort from the safe space we created among our wives. And for the first time, she felt seen and heard and supported. And you don't know how much that made our time together even better for me. And then I could bring our problems there, our medical issues, some of our struggles, shared experiences. No matter our race or denominational beliefs, we all understand when our wife's angry, we don't know how to make her happy again. So we can compare notes on where to get flowers and where to go for getaways, and we did those things. So that was an unexpected aspect. And then one that was expected was that we met outside of that group. The connection went beyond our safe space. We've had lunches and fellowships and time together and our great meal at the end of our time.
Usually the one who is hosting, because we change sites, provides the lunch and also provides facilitates the group for that day. So we get to share leadership in facilitating. But one of the things that I see as a quality of a safe group is respect. We need to respect each other's opinions, and there's a place where we can open up and be vulnerable with each other, and without feeling that I have to cover myself with a professional mask, that I'm a pastor and I'm these. Seldom you find places where you can do that, because we're public people, we're always serving and always, just being vulnerable is important, because we sometimes feel that we have to know all the answers, and in this group, we know that we can get along and share different perspectives and support each other.
I think transparency is huge. So when we're going through things, we can share those things without fearing judgment, that we don't measure up. So when we go through our various struggles as pastors, as husbands, as fathers, and we can come together and just hash it out. And that's been precious.
Yeah, and I would add to that, it's kind of already been said, but just to be listening, I recognize that, like in a church setting, when I'm in charge, I lead the conversation, I direct the conversation. In this setting, I always want to kind of try to take a back seat a little bit. Just what can I hear? In fact, as we were getting ready for here today, Mike said, and Mark, we might say, Mark, you talk. Because sometimes I don't want to. Like, I just want to kind of hear from them. They don't need to hear my wisdom. I need to hear a little bit more of their experience. In fact, Mike once, and it might have been after, I'm thinking about, it was like after COVID, maybe it was about George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery or something like that. But Mike said, what do us white pastors need to hear from you? What do we need to understand in this? Kind of Mike was just saying, hey, we need to take a posture of listening. What do we need to hear? And so I think that's just big for us to, all of us to come into it not saying, hey, I've got the right answers or whatever, but just, hey, I'm willing to listen. And even with that, share, because early on we had, if you guys remember, Rod maybe doesn't remember this, Michael Wright would kind of lead our conversations, and it kind of brought us to sharing, being vulnerable, being authentic, sharing some brokenness and hurt. Yeah. So we're not just coming in to talk about all of our successes, but our challenge. Yeah.
I think Mark became the E.F. Hutton of the group. He never said much, but when he spoke, it was like, yeah, we're listening, man.
Amen.
So you don't find those qualities in every group that you're a part of, respect and listening and transparency. Those aren't things that always happen, especially among people who may look at things differently. How do you think, and Mark, maybe you just kind of alluded to that, but how do you think the brothers group got there? Because I wasn't there at the beginning, but it didn't sound like that was kind of the feeling, the sense of the group there. There is a sense of that's where we're at. Those are the things we enjoy. How did we get there?
I think since the beginning of the group, once we had those first arguments, or Marvin said that we needed to become just friends. And I remember the first meetings, I was kind of nervous, thinking, hey, we need to do something, but we need to do something. What's the agenda in this group? And I remember Marvin saying, well, we're just going to be friends. That's it? That's all? And surprisingly enough, being friends, not only in the group, but outside the group, because some of us meet other occasions just to have coffee, and we call each other. So naturally, the group built that relationship. And I think that was very good, just to be, the agenda was just to be friends.
I think also it took some risk that we had to take to develop our friendship. I remember I invited Cesar to come because we had a Spanish-speaking church meeting in our building. And I said, hey, man, will you come and do a service in Spanish and in English? And he accepted that challenge, and that spoke volumes to me about who you were as a brother. Thank you, brother. So,
yeah. I'm glad I didn't know the original reason you guys got together, because I probably would not have come, honestly, because I wasn't brought up in an environment where those things could be talked about in a civil fashion. So we had to be selective in where we spoke about certain issues. So I'm glad I didn't know the earlier part. And I'm also glad that no matter what agenda we planned, I believe God had purpose for this. I believe it's a purposeful move, not only for us in our individual lives and in our collective as pastors, but in the city that we serve in. Because we cannot keep preaching a gospel of peace to congregants when the pulpit is divided. I think they notice that we have no unity. And then how dare you ask us to get together? I don't know how that works, but when you are invited in, not because I'm trying to deliberately dispel some issue that's happened out there racially, but because you're my brother, and this is an opportunity to introduce you to the people I serve, and they can see that my family is vast and full of variety, and that designation is not DNA bound, but because of our faith in Christ and our goal to bring his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, this is necessary, and he had a greater purpose for us meeting than just racial harmony.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Excuse me. I do think God brought us together, and for us being willing to say, yeah, let's gather, let's continue, even if it's a different group than it started, and some people didn't want to connect up in relationship. They wanted a platform to kind of share, and so just for us to say, yeah, no, maybe God has a different plan of why we should be together.
So I would say our hope this morning, actually sharing a little bit of their story, and you've just gotten like a drop in the bucket, but our hope in sharing their story is to be able to say, number one, relationship can happen even with those that we don't see eye to eye with all the time. And but it takes effort. It takes concerted effort and really a desire not to use somebody to get something done, but to actually build a relationship, to value them for who they are. And what I've seen is actually these men, and they're not the only ones. Jeff's actually a part of our group too, and there are others, but they actually find efforts working together. There are things that happen between churches because of that friendship. They come out of the friendship, and not that they're just trying to get things done through each other. So, any last words you would say, kind of in the regards of relationship and creating safe space? So, just any final thoughts that you would have, any of you?
I guess just one thought would be in our own lives to kind of see who has God brought into our sphere, and how can I really foster some of those relationships with people who are different than I am, because you have to be intentional. Relationship doesn't just happen. And you know, we're blessed, Mike, by you, by Marvin, City Ministry Network that helped pull us together, but we also had to make the effort.
Yeah.
So.
I agree with that. It's very important to be intentional, because it's not going to happen naturally, because we gravitate towards our place of where we feel our comfort zone. And this is asking us to go beyond and really break the barriers. And by the grace of God, we've been able to remain together all this time.
Sure.
All right.
I'm someone that doesn't like to be told what to think. So I would say part of our duty as believers is to turn off our echo chambers, to stop listening to people who think like us and sound like us and look like us, and be uncomfortable. Unsettle yourself to go in places maybe where you weren't invited, but that you're curious to be. And I believe God will open up those opportunities for you. And I don't think it's a pastoral privilege to do that. I think it's God's people's purpose to do that, for us to not let people tell us who people are, but go discover who they are right in your own town. Just take a chance to stop somebody and say, you don't know me, but tell me your story, and listen. Don't judge. Don't compare what you've heard. Let them fill the narrative, and then maybe you'll get a chance to connect deeper with intention and develop a relationship.
Good word. Good word. Would you thank my friends for me? Thank you for being here. I appreciate each of you so much. And so what we want to give you an opportunity just around the table to kind of work through some of those thoughts and what does that look like in your life? So there'll be some questions up here on the screen, And so we're going to take 7 or 8 minutes, and we'll just have a kind of a discussion to debrief and to kind of see how this applies to me. So what qualities must a friendship have for you to feel safe and supported? How do you cultivate these qualities with people who have different perspectives than you? So this is your opportunity to kind of work through those thoughts. So let's take a little while, and we'll do that. All right. I think there's been some great conversation. If you can do something for me really quickly as we wind our conversations down this morning. On the screen behind me, there's going to come up a QR code and for a Slido. And so what I would like is, you talked about some of those qualities that make for safe space around your tables. Would you give me some feedback on that? If you take your phone, turn on the picture, the camera, you can put it on that QR code, and then answer that question. And what I want to see is, this gives us an opportunity as a room to see what kind of thoughts. Respect, that's a huge one. Yes. Accountability, Listening, oh my goodness, powerful. Trust, listening again. Suspended judgment. Humor, I like it. Vulnerability, good. Any other thoughts? Good. Caring. Availability, that's huge. Yep. Understanding. Other thoughts. Be real, vulnerable. Intentionality. So let me ask this. Can you imagine if all your relationships were characterized this way? What a different world we would live in, huh? Yeah. But we can all be a part of helping make that happen. We're leaders and can speak into the lives of others. So I hope you found today valuable and insightful and inspiring, and that's what I'm walking away with myself. And this has been a good time together. I want to invite Mayor Sue Zwallen. The lights I can't see. She's coming there. Thank you. Our mayor has agreed, yes, to share with us next month. So you're going to come and share. Do you want to give us a 30-second invite?
I would be honored to have you here next month. It will be March 6th at 7 a.m. at Crosspoint Church for City Ministry Network. I've been asked to share my heart and to humanize serving in an elected office. So I would appreciate your support. Invite friends if you would like to. I really enjoyed what I heard today. I'm always uplifted when I attend these meetings, and I hope to provide the same for all of us next month. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. I expect it will be a great time together again next month. Let me also make you aware that we have a crab feed coming up. So City Ministry Network is doing a crab feed, and the dates are there in front of you. So March 22nd, not too far away, and it will be a great time. I've had people tell me who've come to our annual crab feeds, it is the most fun crab feed they'd ever been to. So, but please put it on your calendar. If you want, so you may be sitting there going, yes, I would love to come. How do I buy tickets? So you can, if you go to our website, which is cityministrynetwork.org, and there is an events drop-down menu, and under that, there is a link then to actually purchase tickets to attend. If you would be interested in sponsoring, being a sponsor for the event, come talk to me, and I can make sure that that happens. So please be aware of that and join us for it. Marvin, you want to come up and share some closing thoughts? Our illustrious leader. And look at those shoes. Man, he just...
Illustrious leader. When I was telling Tees and Wanda over there, she looked at me when we had coffee. What do you do? So people apparently don't know what I do. When I thought about this, the group, I was wondering, do you have a safe space? Do you have a place where you sit with somebody who's different, whatever different or the other would look like? Do you have a place where you can go and say, help me understand? I know how I see things, but how do you see things? And when we first started, somebody asked me, what were the characteristics of these group of people that we brought together? And really, at first, it was those who had outrage. With Candor, they were part of the outrage industry, if you know what I mean, where they make money out of, that's their stick. That's what I called them. But I'd heard enough from this group being unhappy and that group being happy. Let's get together. And with Candor, as a pastor, it's like, you know what? Okay, I'm public here. This is stupid. The church we should be the ones figuring this out. And so let's bring together. And there were some people that let's get together. So I went around and I had probably 15 people. And I said, let's get together in a room and begin to sort this out. For the sake of our community, how can we get together and take care of this? And some stayed, some didn't because it got hard. Because when somebody called, I'll just say me, when somebody called me a racist, guess what? I get to call you one too. Right? I mean, that's how it was played. Oh, really? You think oh, really? Well, let me tell you, I know enough about you. You are too. That was where the tension was at the beginning. We didn't begin just polite and yay, let's just pat each other on the head. It was, let's get to this. But I discovered some things that there's some that we first started with the reconciliation, and then somebody, maybe it was me, I don't know, somebody did say, let's be friends. Let's just be friends. Let's figure out how to be friends. And this little chart up here is Robert Keegan. You think that hard conversations are going to be held in the polite space. And the truth of it is, if you're really going to get to some depth of work and some deep change in our community, there's got to be a breakdown, not a breakthrough, a breakdown, where you stay in that space of discomfort, where it's hard and you stay. You try to hear each other. You work together. Mark didn't say it, but as being one of the Anglos in the group, he took some early hits because, he's a white guy, so he gets to answer for all the white people that have, oppressed people forever, right? I mean, that's how it was. Or then we had others where, they've been a victim all their life, and that's how they see, life as a victim. So it was an interesting thing. It was fun and wonderful, and I'll call them godly people. But our humanness really played a part in just early on. So you stay in that circle, and you stay in that box. And with Candor, sometimes you stay in it a long time. You stay in it a long time. Somebody mentioned that leadership is a lonely place, and not many of us have spaces where we can be candid and be free and talk. For so many years, I thought I could be that, and I'm learning there's just fewer places now that I can just be myself and not worry about, if I say something, will somebody misread? And then I'm thinking of Sue, who she has to be so careful in political office. And Kennedy, probably all of you are that way because you're all influencers and leaders of leaders. But I hope you'll have that space, not just as a friend, but you'll also have a place of the other, whoever the other is in your mind. Help me understand why you see that way. I don't, Doug Ridenauer and I get together, and I think, Doug, you're an Okie. I don't understand. Help me understand. I had to say that, Doug. I was thinking about you over there. So you still can buy me breakfast. But when I think of the characteristics, and you all set it up here, and then I'm going to be done. And as I mentor and we mentor young people, they're saying this. First of all, my mentor, or I think Carl mentioned it, be authentic, be transparent. The level of transparency in the group will rise according to you as the facilitator or the first responsible. So if you're careful and you're guarded, guess what? No one's going to go beyond that. And so authentic and transparent. Creating a safe space. Safe space probably means in this circle was, man, you don't put my business out in the street. If I'm going to tell you something, please, be cool with it. And somebody mentioned earlier too, we tend not to give each other, our opinions and our 3-point outline how to fix something. To me, that's safe. And I'll tell you, around me, if I tell you something and right away you want to jump to a 3-point outline, guess what? I won't tell you next time. I just want you to be my friend. Just be my friend. So trusted, and then mutual respect. Now, we spend a lot of time with young people, so they just want to know that I respect them also, that I'm not there just to tell them what I think. So respect. And then last is, will you stay at the table long enough? So I want to encourage you with this, is that have a space, a safe space. Leadership, and Cesar mentioned it, leadership is a lonely place. And sometimes that's been my fault. So go find some friends, and I hope you would, even if it's just one. And then number 2, stay at the table long enough in that breakdown box. You stay there, and then eventually, it moves to some creativity and some action. And I did appreciate Cesar saying, yeah, we weren't going to do anything together. We were just going to be friends. And as people of action, oh my gosh, that's a waste of time. And at times it did feel like that. But I'm so proud of these men and their wives and on all that's happening among them. Now I'm going to say this. I have a friend, she said to me the other day, I can't control I feel out of control what's happening in our country. I heard her. I want to say this, though. I can control what's in front of me. I can control or determine the trust and the safe and the respect in front of me. I can pay attention and care for how people are treated in our community. I can do that. And right now, that's the best I can tell myself and her and you. I feel so out of control. I feel so powerless. And yet, I can do this right here. And I want to encourage you and challenge you with that. Master, thanks for the time together, for these men, and for these leaders of leaders. Thank you for them. May they have safe spaces and have the courage and the guts, the tenacity, the perseverance to stay at that table of breakdown and stay. In my Lord's name I pray. Amen. See you later.